Hoping to be able to kind of speed play up a little bit by now, but I haven't really been able to. Still struggling enough with the rules here. Speaking of which, something I forgot about, I got a TEDx in here. It's the device that allows me to clear the thing if it gets blocked or to rebuild bridges. It's got one other purpose I forgot about. I can use it and turn forests into clear areas, and I really should have been doing that because creating nice fire zones is very important. Of course, as I clear the forest, this would become absolutely vital because this is the transport route. Again, I'm kind of getting a grasp of all the parts of the game. If I'm clearing strips of forest and making a big zone without forests, I would have the incredible advantage of being able to use my lasers and my missiles more effectively, as well as the hover tanks and all that crap. Yes, I was using them illegally, it turned out, but, there are things here that I haven't been able to explore yet, just because of not grasping everything completely. So I picked my counters for the guerrillas, but now I'm working on the Mycan, and they have a problem. They don't have all the police that they used to have. And since the police aren't in the board, I think they have one police unit over here. And then they have their military police. They're only going to get 2 of each draw, and I think this affects their counter draws too. Yeah, so I'm only going to be allowed to draw from cities where I've got police, but I actually get an additional counter draw, which I wasn't getting from the political police unit. Again, another screw up. We'll see what it all works out as, though. Okay, well, we exchanged some counters again. Oh, got one of these to put out. And I missed this guy. What we're getting is a lot of these rebel troops forming up, in all the different areas. It's not something that can be stopped completely. The rebellion, you can't just hose it. You can't just cut it down completely. And especially now that I concentrated on the forces that moved into the city, it's going to be hard. Now, these actually, they get rebellions too if they're in areas. I seem to remember this. Let's see. Where there's a possibility. Let's see. Where there's city units there. That's Mycans. Forest settlement city recruitment. A city that has a multiplier. Both guerrilla power base and combat units may recruit. I get a militia on top of each exposed power base. And if any of this stuff is in there with a multiplier, I get militia there. So I got a couple more militia. Ah, shit, I've been cheating here. Militia can't move in the turn they're recruited. See, I've been funneling my militia each turn. Now, how I'm going to remember that, whether or not something got recruited this turn, is going to be tough as hell. But, yeah, that's going to make life a lot easier on the Mycan player if he can stomp out those militia when they recruit. I have no idea how to mark that they've moved. And what about the... Oh, shit. Now I've lost this other... God damn it. What about my upgrading of units? Do they also have this problem? No. They can move out after they've exchanged. But yeah, that's going to cut down this really rapid growth that I've seen with the rebellion. Boy. Okay, so now the guerrillas have blown the cut, spread out, and actually started inhabiting some of these farm settlements, which farm settlements are worth 5 each. There's a reason I'm in farm settlements, though. I think there's a potential problem if a farm settlement is attacked. I seem to recall something like that. There's a possibility of civilian casualties there. I can't find anything that refers to that, though, so I don't know. Anyway, like much here. I also caught myself having cheated here. Hover tanks stacked with the garrison, that's not legal. That hover tank should be more exposed than it is. And same here, you can only have one thing in each city, inner city hex. I'll let it pass for now. I do have a number of attacks I'm doing, one of which I'm going to open up here and hit that garrison, or not garrison, but police. And that thing is doubled, so it's 2-to-1. I get a 10E, that's going to crush that, but I take 10% of one of these big guys. It's an infantry platoon. I'm going to lose 5 points for that. I don't have 5 points, so I'm going to have to find something to take costs from. I've got another big attack that I'm planning on launching from here. Yeah, I built a big unit to hit. You might say, hey, why don't you attack from back here? Well, I'm kind of hoping to be sitting in this hex for the militia production. Now that I am playing the militia correctly, I'm having trouble finding places where I can recruit. Another thing that I didn't notice is, hey, I can move along roads for 0, which really means that there's a good reason to be interdicting the roads for the Mycan forces. Again, learning so much through my mistakes, basically. So far, we've had some pretty hefty suppression, including an attack on this thing, which cost them 15, and the rebels some 30 for a heavy weapons unit. They got blasted. That was an exchange action. I'm looking for my other tank. I went and fixed the brake. Never going to get to clear forests because now that that's an actual threat, I have to consider the possibility of the breach here. And now the rebels might want to consider trying to waste this unit so that they can get at the TEDx there. I got another tank somewhere, and I don't know where it went. Oh, it retreated from this battle. Yeah, this is the Gunplats. They succeeded in clearing my cities of all their crap, although that means there's a hover tank here. But I'm allowed to attack things I haven't probed with certain weapons, in particular the missiles and the lasers. So let's take a look at how those suckers work, if I can find them in this mess. So the lasers fire a direct line, and somewhere it says I can attack things I haven't found. It's not in this area, it's somewhere else probably. But I believe both the missiles and lasers can do that. And they have ranged attacks. So, unfortunately I didn't bother moving those. One of them. There's my laser. And I don't think I have a missile here. So I can fire my laser. Right now I can't see this thing. So I'll fire at this thing with 15. And what do I hit? Oops, some farmers. Alright, well the farmers aren't going to cause any loss to me, but they do cause a civilian loss. And they cause 3. Which is going to cost me 12 to each location. You can see my points are getting up there. I'm above 100 in each case, which means we're going to be able to start playing the game of politics here. Anyway, there goes my laser there. And I'm not feeling too good about that. Over here, I have a missile launcher, which I think I can fire at this because it doesn't have to have the line of sight. Let's see how that works. Let's fire at 10. Okay, we found some militia there. I don't believe they're doubled, but I'm not positive. No. So I'm 10 to 1, which I'm going to eliminate it. These militia are really easy to eliminate when they're out. That one, I don't know what that was doing there. That's a weird place for there to be a militia. I don't think that belonged there. Probably thought it was a forest. And here I have both missile and laser. Now I can't fire the laser down a line except to here I could hit both of these. So that's what I'm going to do with my laser because it shoots, I don't know. I don't know if it has to be directly down a line. Yeah, it looks to me like I can fire it between these two units and hit that other unit in between. So let's see what the first one is. The first one's a regular unit, and my laser is a 15 to 3, is 5 to 1. Let me clear that out. It's dangerous to be in the clearings. Now we hit this, which is going to be doubled, and that'll also be 5 to 1. That's an automatic elimination. Okay, now my missiles. Do I want to unload at the close or the far guys? Are they both? Yeah, they're both in clear terrain. I'll roll to see which one because I'll shoot at the further guys and the regulars. And I've got 3 to 1 on them, which might not kill them. But it does. And they don't have any ranged weapon, so they're just dead. So far that's been pretty good, and I think I'm done. I didn't go through all the attacks there, just the kind of new stuff that I'm doing. And we're pushing into turn 5 there. Push into turn 5 here, and the weather holds. Chits have been picked. Right now the guerrillas have the real advantage on the chit picks because there's so few police on the board. You can see normally, I guess the mic can, if everything's there, get an extra counter chit pull over the guerrillas. And now we're on the political phase, and I think we actually get to play. So let's take a look at what's going on here. So right now I've got health in Robochi and Dinovan, but not in clearing. Clearing's health comes up at 200. So let's see what we have. Do we have health in Dinovan? Let's play it. Let's see what happens. Now that's going to go in the health box, which has to be here, and displace these military police. Maybe I don't want to play it if I'm doing that. Let's make sure I have things that I can do. I have demonstrations. I have, oh no, demonstrations don't help me. I have demonstrations here. I have rioters, which are going to help me to some extent by protecting that unit. Okay, so we've just played one of these. We just played a power base. Let's see what that does for us. Oh, jeez, I can't ever find anything in this. Per guerrilla, counter base, counter exposed, and those could be exposed. Shit. I think I may be cheating. No big shock, right? I've been moving everything into the safe zones. I think actually when you draw a power base from your enemy, it gets exposed, which changes the whole game of these things. Like everything else, I can't get a damn thing right in this game because there's just too much that's new and different. And then there's all these stupid-ass blue things. Counters which are drawn are placed in the safe zone. In order to counter draw... Yeah. If guerrilla unit power base counters are exposed, they're put in the echo hex of that power base. Which I think still exposes them, but I've just been playing it wrong, like so many damn things in this game. And, you know, there's two factors going in play here. Three. One is my general incompetence at facing games. The other is, or the next one is, this has lots and lots of special cases and special rules, and everything's handled just a little differently, and it's all new, very new, in a way that, you know, makes it troublesome to play. It's a very different type of system. But then there's the organization of the rules and how bad they are at actually expressing everything in a way that I can remember all the special cases. Yeah, GDW's tendency to just put columns doesn't always work so badly. You know, sometimes I can remember, but they don't really split things up into cases and put headings as much as I prefer. But I have found GDW is often usable. But then when you add this blue shit to it, I can't remember a damn thing in a rule book that's been highlighted. You know, God. Brings me to Victory Point games, who give you pre-highlighted games so that they're not understandable. But this was cheap, so part of the price that I'm paying for it being cheap is I'm not going to understand it for several plays, and I probably won't get enough plays to ever completely, you know, be able to find things in these rules. Certainly not consecutively. Okay, so let's change the rules and start playing by them. I don't know what should have, you know, I'm not going to change for this turn, but hopefully I'll remember elsewhere. So what did we do? We exposed. We should get some points for this. That's what I was looking up. So that's going to be 40 points. And where did I just expose it? I exposed it in Robochi. So that puts me up to 70. Now that I have the health, if I have a school, I can play that too. That won't bump the points up directly, but let's see. I do not have a school. So I have schools, but they're from the wrong side. And see, here's the thing. By the counter draws exposing things, instead of them ending up in my hand, they end up on the board. They end up generating points for the player who, you know, accidentally got exposed. And then I can use my nasties against them, right? And that's what we've been missing throughout the whole game. Unfortunately, it was easy enough to come up with a quick understanding of what I thought was supposed to be happening, because the two kinds of counters are hit differently, and that's not pointed out. You know, that's not really like blaringly obvious from reading the rules. I'm sure I absorbed it at one point, but then when I look back, I just try to skim rules in order to see, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? And, well, you know, you don't point something out that's going to be different, and it all seems like one thing. It all blurs together in my mind, and that's how I play. And I only look into detail when I really have to deal. So like now I really have to deal, and then I remember, wait a minute, there was something about things going into shadow spaces and all that shit. Yeah, this is why it happens and how it happens. Okay. Which means you don't necessarily want, well, you don't want the other guy getting your shits, but that's always the case. So where the hell am I? Now I have to look up the different things I could do in Robochi Put. That's not where I belong. Shit. I get so goddamn confused. So this guy doesn't move. It's in Diniviv. And I'm looking for health. Health is here. That's 40 points here. Okay. So the next one is school, and I don't have it here either. But now I have some options. I have kidnapping, demonstration, assassination, and riots. Some of those I'm not going to want to do, obviously, or not able to. Kidnapping, is going on an exposed power base, enemy power base. Assassination and bomb go on a power base. Demonstrate. I can demonstrate on a friendly exposed power base. If not canceled, the counter is placed in the draw pile and I get some points. Rioting, I get blanks on every adjacent space. Without, the player gets the bonus points. The power base counter may not be canceled or rested. Okay, so that can't be. Oh, maybe this guy could have canceled Dinachin. If he had the health, he could have played against it. He does not. Okay. So I'm going to open up with a riot centered on my power base. And that would generate pieces all around, except that this guy has a countering riot in the same space. So he's able to prevent that from happening. This part reminds me a little bit of Spies, although the counters are the same cards against each other. They sometimes are in Spies. Okay, the only other thing that I have of value is a demonstration. Let's see if I can get that out. Now, if he had a black demonstration, he couldn't play it against it. He'd need a red one for this. The demonstration is successful, and we have to look up what those do. Okay, so that's 25 more points that I gain on Dinichev. 10, 20. 5 puts me up to 203. Now, that doesn't gain me anything because I could have played a school anyway because it was next in line. So I'm not going to have anything that is going to add yet. But I am getting a lot of bonus towards Revolting Dinichev, Dinivan, whatever. And that makes me stronger there in a lot of ways. How important is that? Well, if I get control of Dinivan, I think that means all of these farmers aren't going to be supplying, the associated farmers aren't going to be supplying Robochi Put. So basically, if I take the other two cities, that's as good as taking Robochi, or if I take Robochi, or if I physically occupy the farms and or prevent any possibility of goods being cycled out of them. Essentially, there's no limit once the opponent is playing the impressment rolls. There's no limit to where my traces can go, although I have decided that this cut is necessary. I don't even know if that's the case. The local transport could just push it through the mountains or something, you know, on pack mules. Maybe that's all viable and valid. I don't know. But fixing this was worth some points, which maybe I didn't even assess to myself. Which is going to put it over to the Mikan political phase. Well, since we haven't been randomly exposing things, the only thing that's important here is Dinivan. And I probably want to reduce. Well, actually, no. I've got problems everywhere. I might want to expose some of my power bases elsewhere at this point. So let's start looking at what we have available, because I think I'm at a point where I kind of want to play things. So this isn't me, so that doesn't help. These I can't play. They're opposing power pieces. Same with all of these. But I have transport in Dinivan. Transport is over here. I'll reveal that. I'm obviously allowed to. The only things I'm not allowed to are health and school. Transport is way over here, so it doesn't get me right to school. I'd have to play retail to reach school. I'll bump this, and I get, I don't know how much. Might not be 40. Yeah, it's 40. Dropping him back down. I want to expose the words so that I can find them. And yeah, as I warned, this is going to be one hell of a bumpy ride because I knew these rules were not going to gel for me at all. So as I move to the guerrilla movement, I've come up with a certain way of kind of handling the militia production, making sure. What I'm doing is, when I produce a new militia, I flip everything face up. And when I produce a new militia unit, I do this actually just before the movement phase, rather than trying to do it in the reinforcement phase when it should actually happen. And I got to worry about the stuff in the cities, because I think I get one here in the health ministry as well, which provides it with some defenses. When I produce the new militia unit, and actually, no, I don't get that then, because reinforcements came after political. So that's not going to work very well. But when I produce the new militia unit, I put it face down when I put the other units face up. But that's not going to work when you're playing it opposed. You're going to have to come up with other means of showing yourself that this is a new unit that you can't move. And that's going to, I'm finding it easier playing it solo because I can use that kind of notation. Of course, you could tell your opponent, cover your eyes, you know. But, yeah, a little good that's going to do in most situations. I mean, do you really want to be playing a game where one guy is having to put a bag over their head or read a book or something during your turn and can't really watch what you're doing because you're using that kind of notation, or you know what? And in an extent, you know, I get a little bit more secrecy out of the play playing it solo than I would opposed. Opposed, you would get to see the opponent moving on the board, and if you can recall what was somewhere, you can kind of watch him like a hawk, like you would in a Titan game, and I don't know how I feel about that kind of thing. I would rather the avert your eyes while I take my turn type of play, so that I'm presenting him with a truly hard to understand situation, rather than one where he's trying to remember what units are what and watching every move of mine very carefully. That's just personal taste, though, I guess. I can have started getting kind of sloppy. They've got 3 of their platoons here, and that could have been combined into a whole company if I had been careful in terms of my positioning of units. I probably should do that. The reason is, this only has a 10 defense strength. Of course, there are several of them, so it's going to take a while to blast through, and they'll just take casualties. And they might take less casualties as a smaller unit, even if I'm getting hit with bigger odds. But I'd probably take no casualties if I put the big unit there. This with a 16 defense instead of a 10 would be much harder to get a big attack on. But, you know, a 2-to-1 against this versus a 1-to-1 against that might work out about equivalent. The problem is, I don't think I can get a 2-to-1 on this. Actually, that would require 20 strength points. This is a 12. That's about as big as I think I have right now. There may be something bigger with the aliens, I'm not sure. Yeah, they got some big heavy weapons units if they eventually come in, so that's what I'd have to worry about. Whereas I think I can get a 1-to-1, well, maybe not on a 16 either. I don't think I have that kind of firepower. I do have one thing that has that kind of firepower, this big bomb, but I can't use that on a city. I would do it immediately if I could, because that's where all their force is. But anyway, what I was thinking was, well, there is some threat to this stack being attacked, and if that's the case, then maybe I don't really, you know, I wanted something bigger there to take it on, because I could actually do a 1-to-1 against this, do some damage, but I probably am not going to be able to eliminate that top unit. And not being able to eliminate the top unit means I won't be able to burn through the next couple of 5/5 units there, etc. So the idea of a concentrated attack on the city's garrison, external garrison, seems unlikely, to say the least. However, if that were possible, there's a lot at risk there. And I'm just keeping that in mind as a possibility. I'm having a hard time coming up with what I want to do with the guerrillas. It's kind of the problem with the game is, not with the game, but with playing the game for the first time again, is even if I got all the rules right, I'm kind of bumbling along trying to figure out what I want to do in terms of strategy. Of course, that means that, gee, there's a lot there. You know, it's not like I'm going to expose all of that to you in the playthrough. Not my bumbling, I'm exposing that, but I mean, I'm not going to expose, you know, what my great knowledge of strategy of this game is, which, you know, maybe I can in something like Carp's Vietnam. I don't have... I wouldn't say I'm a master at it, but I've played it enough times through the campaign game that I have a fair feel of how to handle the units and how to try to get certain goals. It may not be the best overall, but at least, I don't know, at least there's a jump start there. I don't feel like I'm giving you much here except my learning game of this, but that's okay. If you don't like that, you would have turned it off already, I'm sure. So, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what to do because, yeah, I have a lot of game left, but I've got to get these values up. So I've got to do things that do that. I've got to try to produce more troops still. So I've got to do things that do that. I was producing enough troops that I felt like I could protect these guys by throwing them in the sanctuaries. But now I'm not so sure. I may have to commit them again, and that's risky. As long as I keep one alive, I'm safe, but I felt a lot safer with two of them in the sanctuaries. And, I don't know. Right now, I guess my biggest goal is to try to knock out these gun plats. These things are just so devastating because they can traverse all the terrain. So, the rebels... I've done a number of things. One is, I'm going to launch an attack here from this, using firepower against these guys. That way they can't shoot back. And then I can use firepower against the gun plats, which can shoot back. I've also got this unit here to try to do the same against that, if need be. But he's also sitting in he's a heavy weapon squad. That's kind of expensive to risk, but I'd really like to kill the gun plats, and I don't want to use the bomb, because the bomb pisses off the natives. Elsewhere, I've filled a lot of the clearings, and I'll count those points very quickly. It's one. It's a hard judgment whether farmers and dummies count. They would in Vietnam, but it's not really specified here whether or not they should. And that one's worth 5 points for Robachi. Just cranking up my points, and over here I actually have real units in most of them, so that's 10 points in clearing. Notice I didn't extend over here. I'm not making an attack on the TEDx. I don't think the cut really matters. I'm debating that one way or another. You know, does local transport have to deal with that? The hovercraft do. But I think local transport can include pack mules going through the mountains or whatever. So the only real way to cut off Robachi from that is to create a zone of units around the city. If you can do that, you can probably blast away the city itself and go take physical occupation of the city. It does not give you political control of the city, though. So it's not a guaranteed victory, but you can do that to promote your chances of victory and then come out and put your little shell outside if you've got that kind of strength. I don't feel like my natives have that kind of strength with the lasers and all that. I can't take this out. That's the big problem. Maybe if I'm doing enough casualties to the Mikan, though, that they have very few units left, and they keep rolling for reinforcements and getting nothing, then we have an issue. I'm also probably going to try to blast into this, just, you know, pick those things off. I'm not terribly concerned with revealing a heavy weapons unit at this point. I do feel like I have enough production of militia that I can take the losses that I've been taking. Maybe because I've been cheating, but I've got a whole bunch of infantry coming in here. What I don't have, though, is that bump up to the next level. I've gotten that bump once by combining up for one company. Let's do the one attack that I think is of great interest, which is here to here. That's going to be a 6-to-1 attack. And I popped that off. Now I want to hit Now I want to hit the useful thing. And that's only got a 3 defense because these guys don't get multiplied. So I got a 4-1 there, which is a good chance of killing it. Boom, it's gone. I don't know where I put these up here, I think. Okay. Now I can keep shooting at this. As long as I haven't been stopped, I can keep going. So that again is 6-1. Not so good, except I'm not going to take losses because I'm out of range of that unit. So I plop that off. And now I've got this again at 4-1. Those tubers, and I took that out. And that's pretty damn impressive in my book. I've just taken out a lot of the mic and power. That's going to make the idea of this thing kind of questionable. There's not a lot for me to target except maybe Robocheap Hood, which has the defensive lasers, which are particularly good at shooting that thing down. So I don't know whether or not I'm going to really be able to risk using that. I'll have to see the situation there. And I only had one other attack that I'm making. I didn't choose to attack the police here because it's these political police. They don't gain me any points directly to kill. The only thing they gain is they'd knock out some of the chit pulls, both from the cups and also the counter pulls, which is very valuable. There's no question that I'd love to strip the Mycan of their ability to get new political chits and such not. But I had bigger fish to fry this turn. In this one, I get an attack, and that's only 3-1. And this is kind of risky because... but I do a hit on it, and that's enough to kill one of these. And then I can flip him back over into a hidden format. And that's going to put us over to the Mycan actions. And yeah, I kind of played everything out. So that I, you know, now I've got to kind of remember the things that attacked that were visible. And I'll kind of tilt them to remind me. But I've got a hard task ahead of me here. In terms of, you know, it looks to me like the rebels are winning the military battle. And why is that? What have I done wrong? You know, because largely I feel like the Mycan were able to cheat more on the military side of things than the guerrillas were. The Mycan have been able. The only thing that they haven't been able to cheat on, I think, is these guys. These guys probably shouldn't be there because I wouldn't have done the dialed fire. But in terms of the effect on the guerrillas, that panic fire hurt the guerrillas, I think. The things I haven't been doing with the Mycan is I haven't been, you know, protecting the roadways, so there's a lot of movement capability for the guerrillas. But I was using the hover tanks where I shouldn't be allowed to and wiping out units. And if anything, the guerrillas should have an even bigger military force than they do. The place where maybe I cheated in favor of the guerrillas is over here on the political chart, where, you know, maybe counter draws should have exposed some things that could have been reacted to, and it's not apparent on the points, but it's apparent in terms of the wealth of options that they have there. And it's kind of funny because it feels to me like the strength on the political chart is all in the Mycan's hands, and the strength on the wilderness, on the board itself, and the ability to actually come close to, I think, launching an attack here is largely in the guerrillas' hands. So where I've been cheating, I'm getting kind of results that don't reflect that cheating as far as I'm concerned. I've been able to wipe out the gun plats, for example. Well, why? Have I just been stupid? Like, should I have maybe put some better defenses on the gunplats? Probably. So, you know, you could probably mark it all up to my poor play more than anything else. But that's okay. More gunplats left. I feel like the Mycan have lost their ability to fight in the wilderness. It could build up one big unit and probe and try to set up so that one big unit can kill something. It's pretty good at killing something. All I have left are these hover tanks. And I'm beginning to feel that I'm going to use my probes to try to clear out the stuff around me, because, you know, if I find a regular infantry unit, one of these 1-3s, the best I can do is hit it at like 1 to 2 odds. That doesn't pay off. I can't fight out in the wilderness anymore. Since I made a reinforcement roll, I can't go after these things. So now I'm kind of very much on the defensive, just trying to defend the city clearings. Now, I'm fairly well positioned to do that with the weapons I have, but I might as well know what I'm hitting and do some probes and stuff. That doesn't necessarily help. If I hit a farmer, I still do damage to the farmer, so I don't know how valuable that really is. Probing, kind of in the hope of getting a committee on responsibility type situation, and I found a militia here. Not worth hunting down with my probes, really. It's going to run and become an infantry, but that's life. I found a heavy weapons unit here. Interesting, sure. But I can only attack it with 16 to 12. That's not very good. You know, that's 2 to 1. Now, there's if that floods, I think I can survive it. Yeah, the guerrillas aren't drowned in that. The natives would be. So that would have been kind of an interesting thing if I could put them in impassable terrain or something. But it's a terrain that was going to become impassable. But that doesn't go through. I did find another heavy weapons here, and this one I did reveal, so I don't have to spend another action to chase that one. But do I want to hit it? Is a 1-to-1 attack against something like that worth doing? Well, let's look at the cost. The heavy weapons squad is worth 30. Now, if I could get a destroy on it, if I could get a 1, that would be great, because that would eliminate something that's irreplaceable. But if I only kill men and they get to save their guns, which is on any other result, then I have to compare kind of what the losses would be, and that's worth 30. Mine could break down to 6, which would be a 5 and a 2 essentially, which comes out to be what? 1 infantry squad and one of these. That's worth 60. So I would be losing more manpower, and my manpower is essentially irreplaceable. Or do I want to try to chase it again and see if I can get it into terrain that I can hit it with a missile? Wow, that would be worthwhile. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But no, I can't probe it. So it's not going to get another hop. It's detected. I wish I could force it into bad terrain, basically. If I attack it, it has to retreat. But it could retreat someplace like here. I just, you know, I don't know what, I could surround it. That might improve my odds. So, what I'm thinking of here is surrounding this unit, but there's a danger to that. Putting a gunplat here, or gunplat after gunplat. I probably want to have a unit to defend the gunplat as well. Or not gunplat, these hover tanks. And launch attacks on it. Now, what's the bonus to doing that? Well, obviously, I'll be attacking at 12 to 12, which is 1-to-1, but by having him surrounded, it means he gets eliminated on a 1, 3, or 4, essentially. That sounds pleasing. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it because I may be losing a lot more units trying to do this. But there's one other factor to it, which is I'd have to put a unit here, and that'll cause civilian casualties. I was wondering why anyone wouldn't want to do that, but yeah, you have to actually fully surround the force. So I think I've got some light infantry. It feels like it's the closest solution to what I can do. And the cost is less, I think, by risking these hover tanks, which they're good for controlling the roads, but that's about it in the clearings. Being able to use one of them to wipe out one of these seems like a fair trade. So I'm going to go for it. It may be foolish as hell, though. Extended that plan a little bit. I put my heavy unit in here. That's going to defend the guns if need be. But I also moved the TEDx here and cleared this. That opens it up that I can laser fire that thing. Can't use missiles. Well, I could, but missiles only have strength 1. But the laser makes it so that I don't have to risk those things, or it gives me another opening fire at it in case I want to use the laser against this, which I haven't probed, so I don't know if I'm using it on something valuable. I can always use my gun plats on these, my hover tanks on these things. Of course, they're at risk then, and we can see these lighter units are very easy to wipe out. But I could use only a double attack and then move back into safety, and then I am only firing an 8-point shot. But in terrain that's not doubled, that may be sufficient for dealing with most things. Highly doubtful that there's anything big in any of these spaces, and there's certainly not a committee of responsibility, which is kind of what I'm hoping to find with all these probes, but whatever. Oh, the laser took that thing out, and now I'm going to use these suckers, and I don't have to probe first. That's one of the cool things about the weapons units. Actually, I'm within range. I can fire from here. So we'll fire at this one. And we found us some farmers. The farmers can't cause us any casualties, but we make a roll on the civilian loss table. We made one over there as well, and that didn't result in any. And this time we're safe again. That was one shot. I think that's all I can do because I didn't eliminate a unit. Shoot another one at this. And I can shoot this at 12 if I want. So that's 12. Actually, this could have been a one shot. So I actually have 2 shots left with it if I so desire, I guess. 12 to 3 is 4 to 1. That's pretty good. That's going to be an exchange, but these guys can't hit me. So we caused some damage there. Now, let me move the last one out. And we shoot it. And it's more farmers. No hits. And then I'm going to pull back. Okay. And then I've got additional fire here, where I've got a laser and a missile. Well, let's fire the missile. Pick one at random. I'll go for this. More farmers. No. And what about the laser? I want to shoot these 2 again, because this is a cleared hex. So that's 5, and my laser goes through at 15 to 5. That's 3 to 1. That was really dumb of the guerrillas to set up that way. That's a 10E. I take no losses, and I've killed a whole platoon. That's a big loss. And then I hit this, which is a 6, so that's 2 to 1. I gotta stay away from that thing. 5, I get a retreat result, which isn't gonna hurt me. And that's the end of this turn. Overall, I feel like the Mikan got away pretty lucky there. But there's piles of militia that are turning into regulars to replace the losses. There's still one big unit kicking around. Where the hell is it? I don't know. Here. Which is terrifying. if I had the kind of force that I could take it on, it would be worthwhile because it would reduce the points. We took the points for the civilian impressment. That was another 45. You can see we're up to, you know, kind of higher values across the board here. I thought we were already on the school here. Huh. Maybe something dropped it down. All right. Well, the weather took as long as it could before coming around. It's automatically rained now, and that has a number of effects. First of all these tuber planes are now wet tuber planes, which you can see has some differences. The missiles can now strike them as if they're water, basically. Line of sight is still blocked by them for whatever reason. But let's see, movement-wise, hover tanks can now, and the other hover vehicles can now move amongst them. And those vehicles, the rivers themselves are flooded enough that the hover vehicles can travel along the rivers and kind of be in any hex next to a river, which is kind of a weird situation. And that's not terribly well described. But if you can imagine, if you watched my video on Civil War, and a number of war games have this, where a unit kind of points to the river hex side. That's essentially what's happening here. But here they have their ability to affect the hex that they're in. Actually, and I guess any hex next to that. So they actually have a considerable range. Of course, they'd have that ability here in the tuber planes anyhow, to move amongst those, because those almost become lakes, bushy lakes, because they'll block lasers. But anyway, speaking of the lasers, the rain is so heavy and continuous that it's going to cut the range of lasers and their strength by half, which is a big blow against the Mikan. I've done my draws and counter draws. Nothing, by playing by the rules, you know, now. Nothing changed. Nobody drew a power base of the opposing player. And that's going to throw me in reinforcements. I think I got to keep drawing for reinforcements from the for the mic and see if they can get anything. Make a roll. No. So they won't be getting their die roll. And I got to kind of remember that a militia unit is showing up here, because now I control that. Which I think makes it impossible to actually affect that. Same as rioters, they have to actually attack it in their political phase. So that is actually where we are, is the political phase, and now I get to start looking. Did I gain anything interesting? So let's look at clearing. Clearing, I can't play health even. Okay, so no problem there. Here, do I have the school yet for Divin? I do. So I'm going to play that. And that gets me, geez, who knows how many points. Yeah, I think each power base is 40, right? Yeah. Now that's exposed. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's Mikan ones. Yeah, where's Gorilla? Okay, yeah, that's worth 40 points in Divin. So, you know, we're really kind of cranking the points out there. Do I have the next one? The next one's Retail in Divin. I do not, so I won't be able to play that. However, I do have a number of these counters I could do, like a Demonstration, which is actually useful to me, and I think I'd like to play that. Does he have an opposing Demonstration? He doesn't. So then we get the points for that, which is another 25. I figure I might as well play these before, you know, they get taken from me. Although that's not necessarily very likely at this point. But the police are coming back very soon. Okay. So that takes care of the first two. And now I go to Robochi Put, and I need health, which I have, and I'm going to play it. If I can find it. And that's worth 40. Do I have schools? I do not. I have a bomb, but I don't want to use that. I have the wrong kind of demonstration. So I guess that's my political phase. We go over to these guys. Wrong color. I could do things. No, wrong colors all. I could do an industry and Robochi put though. That seems worthwhile. And that gives me 40 in Robochi put. To place that. And that decreases their power a little bit, neutralizing the value of this. For what it's worth. And now we should be on the movement phase. And at this point, I'm going to place all of my militia and such not, except for the ones in the city, which I have to do in a different stage, as I mentioned. Missed another factor. A panic fire. I did a couple of them. Well, we'll say it was limited panic fire. The panic fire is so extensive that it actually clears the terrain in the hexes that it's done. I think, yeah, that includes, like, you know, if I'm hitting glyph items, if I'm hitting mountains, I blast them out of the way. Wow. That's pretty impressive. The TEDx, I don't think, can even do that in terms of blasting mountains. Impressive. Largely because I haven't been throwing lots of troops out around the cities. I haven't worried about what's going on, you know, in terms of infiltration. It's been trivial. I don't know if this should be the case. I think I should have had to, although reading the rules doesn't state this, but I think if I play again, I'm going to say if you've got a unit outside the city in the hex itself, that should count as part of the interdicting forces. I'm not going to change that because I'm trying to play by the rules here. But the way the rules are written, if I want to get into Robochi put, I have to roll a die. I don't know, one, I don't make it in. I don't know what happens if I don't make it in. Can't be good. I guess I should look. I should look at spotting too. Had to have been probed. Okay. And it has to be adjacent to a Mikan unit. Jeez, I don't know. So that wouldn't work with. I think I did attacks as though they were spotted with PO units next to them. That's not legitimate. So I'd have to actually send a Mikan infantry or headquarters at risk. I'll try to play that too. Let's look to see if we can find where the infiltration is. I think that's under cities rather than movement. The number rolled must equal or exceed the number of enemy units with a defense strength present on farm or farm settlement hexes. No, you know, I counted those hexes and they don't count the city. So yeah, the rules are very clear that units garrisoning the city are no problem. I don't know why that's the case, but personally I would think that there should be some chance. But what happens? If it's not successful, the unit ends movement next to the city or in the city. Right? No, next to the city, whether it's trying to enter or leave, which could be problematic, no question, because you're going into a farm hex, although here it's not a farm hex next to the city, so what the hell? Well, that's a little weird. Okay. Yeah, these are, all the hexes are represented there. I don't know. For effect, I have to take into account. There's a militia from Dinovan. It's not on the Dinovan board. Could be over here, but I gotta look on the map. Now, these are really hard to tell apart. Basically, you have a tiny little C, RF, or RP. This one has a D. So I could make that my militia. And I think I'll do that. And now I have to look for the right type here. They're not, I don't know if they're militia or not. Yeah, these are PO militia. And that has become one of my units. If support drops below, I'll have to lose that unit and it'll return back to the PO control. But right now, I've got some of their support on my side. For whatever that's worth. Okay, it's time for me to start playing rough now. Now that I got this company together, boom! That's 100 to 16. That's going to be at least 5 to 1. And that eliminates it. I don't want to try to make change for this. Although doing so might save some of these units. They're still under potential attack. So I'm just going to take this as an elimination. 1B. There goes a whole company dead. That's painful. Do I get any points for killing a company? Guerrilla companies. There's no mic and headquarter involved in a company particularly. They're oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't a company, was it? Yeah, that was a whole company. The headquarters has all been factored in up into that unit. I don't see any reason for splitting your headquarters up. That seems like a good way to lose lots of points. Bomb is the political activity, not this big explosion. So, boom, that worked. This is gone, but I get a bonus for it. I get 10 manpower for having dropped it, rather than losing it in combat or something. So that was pretty effective. Now, on a 1 through 3, I've affected the natives. I have not, so I can just ignore that. Had I disturbed them enough, then they wouldn't progress any further. Well, they wouldn't enter the war until I roll a 6. I might still be able to get additional progression. That's not clear in the rules. The way it's termed is they won't enter the war. I don't know what that means. If they're already in the war, it's a less likely chance you'll upset them, only on a 1 or a 2. But if you do, they just pull out completely. So I think actually I would be able to get the additional troops. I just wouldn't get that final I'm declaring war where the big troops come in. I'm not too worried about that. It doesn't feel like anybody's going to be doing any panic fire. Well, it could happen because I don't know if I want to be this close. No need for me to take losses, huh? What about here? I could be back here where I'm less likely to take losses. Okay. If I was here, from here I get to shoot multiple things, so I'll do it from here. I could have reached in any of these cases. I don't want to be here because I don't want to take that on. But given that I blew that up, I might have been okay doing it. Wait, was that here? That's a farm hex that I blew up. Oops, I wasn't counting on that. Oh crap, I pissed everyone off. That's minus 50 to everything. Well, maybe that wasn't so wise. I'm not getting far with these things anyway. I will eventually, but okay, let's start picking things off. We're going to do 12 to 4 is 3 to 1 on that. Destroy this. I don't want to have to pay. So that's 1C3, and we're seeing the Mycan are almost completely eliminated at this point. I got one more company, or one more squad here to attack, but I can keep shooting. That's 6 to 1. I don't think shooting into those hurts me. That's as far as he's going. And now here, so this actually wasn't doubled, for whatever that mattered. 12 to 4 is 3 to 1. We're down to the 3 platoons that I have guarding the cities, and that's it. It's looking pretty bad. I can shoot this. I don't know what that has as a defense. Any attack will destroy it. It could have been captured by me, but I don't particularly like what it does, so I'm going to destroy it. I don't know if it has any importance if it's destroyed. Doesn't look like it. I don't see any TEDx in there. Okay. And do we want to plink this at 5-1? See, the problem is we could take some serious losses. Now, we can drop down to a squad and take squad losses. No, we'd be taking full losses. I don't think it's worth the risk. Not for a PO unit. So I'm just going to flip over. If I was far enough away that I could shoot it, that would be cool. I had an attack here I wanted to make. This is a 3-1. That eliminates this. And I wasn't terribly interested in producing more militia. I've got a lot of militia. You know, yes, I'm going to get more. I probably have room for them. But I'm generating troops at a good rate now. Perhaps in part because I cheated early on, allowing all the militia to run away early. Keep that in mind, that that's one thing that the military situation, I said, well, I've cheated pretty heavily in favor of the Mikan. I've also cheated pretty heavily in favor of the rebels here because they were able to crank out troops at a higher rate. Maybe that balances out, I'm not sure. Anyway, where do we go from here? It looks to me like it's going to be the Mikan movement turn. Factor, I forgot. That bomb blew up the farmland. That's no longer a farm space for whatever that matters. And I think you could do the same with the TEDx, to tell you the truth, which might be one valuable thing for the TEDx is just rip up the farmland. Oh well. You might can end up with a somewhat depressing set of losses. I actually screwed up though. Oh no, this area has cover. I would have had to spot it. So I probably would have failed anyway. I didn't do any spotting. I shot up some farmers, which did not do me very well. One of them ended up causing 3 civilian casualties. I had to pay for civilian impressment. It looks pretty hopeless at this point, unless I could do some really cool things here to get these under control. I honestly don't see, when it comes to the last turn, how I can prevent the guerrillas from kind of controlling the area around me. Maybe if I get some more troops. But, you know, I just can't prevent them from growing is basically the problem at this point. And part of that may be the way I cheated before. Anyway, in terms of, especially for the guerrilla growth, that the spike in that has probably helped the guerrillas significantly. I'm not sure how much difference there would be, though. So, you know, this happened quickly. I don't know that had I slowed down that growth a little bit, it wouldn't be happening as I get around here. And meanwhile, at the same time, there might be enough power going on in these to start causing problems that we have not been seeing at this point. This may be a very tough game for the Mikan to win. Then again, maybe I'm just too dense to see their path to victory. But we're going into another turn, and we're going to load this one up. I guess this is the third video. And we're halfway through the game already.